Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, I'm going to be comparing the Subaru Forester to the Subaru Outback. Before we get this video though, a huge shout out and thank you to the Nate Wade Subaru here in Salt Lake City, Utah for giving me some time with both of these vehicles. I'll include a link to their inventory in the description down below so you can check out what they have currently. And then on a side note, if you're going to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. Under the hood of the Forester, we have a naturally aspirated 2.5 liter flat four cylinder that goes through a CVT automatic. Fuel economy is 26 around town and then 34 on the highway, with power outputs being 182 horsepower and then 176 pound-feet of torque. This is the only engine available with the Forester. Now under the hood of the Outback, we have the exact same powertrain. However, fuel economy is 26 around town and then 32 on the highway, so slightly less on the highway. Now you can also get a turbocharged engine in the Outback that puts out 260 horsepower and then 277 pound-feet of torque. So you've got two engine options here. Now before we go over the front ends, I do want to mention, if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So starting with the Forester, it has kind of more of like a boxy type appearance, especially when you compare it to the Outback. I mean, look at the headlight design there and then how vertical the grille is. But notice you got fog lights, all that stuff. And then popping over to the Outback, you can see that it looks like it's actually like lower to the ground, not with the ground clearance, but like with the hood itself, it's actually lower. So more of like a sleek, kind of like station wagon type design. You'll really see that on the side, but notice it has fog lights, all of that stuff. But regardless, let me know which front end you think looks better. Now coming around the side here, our tire and wheel setup is very similar. 225 60 17 in the front and in the rear with the Forester, whereas the Outback, it's 225 65 17 in the front and in the rear. So a little bit more sidewall with the tire. Notice that they both have fender flares, but the Outback fender flares are definitely a lot more prominent, that's for sure. And same thing with like the body cladding on the Outback versus what you have on the Forester. And I think the side view really shows this. Again, the Outback has kind of more of like an off-roader type appearance with all of the cladding, and look how long it is. Now the Forester, on the other hand, is actually slightly shorter, and you guys can see that it has more of like a normal crossover appearance on the side. Now since they're both Subarus, they both have Subaru key fobs. Who would have thought? Now popping into the Outback, you guys can see we have a cargo cover built in from the factory. We've got these little latches to throw down the seats and tons of storage space here in the back. And by the way, this is power operable with the hatch. Now with the Forester, you guys can see that we still have the cargo cover here in the back. Notice we don't have any like little seat throw down latches or anything like that. And the storage space in here is definitely smaller compared to what you have in the Outback. And then, well, that's also power. Now when it comes to rear style, you can see that the Outback kind of has like a lower, wider look, whereas the Forester has like a taller, narrower look. So it's kind of interesting to see them next to each other. And then also look at the taillight difference with the vehicles. But let me know which design theme you like more, the station wagon look or more of like the tall SUV look. Now legroom here in the back of the Outback is actually really good. Got a little storage pocket here, and then look at like this trim here on the door panel and everything. I think that looks pretty cool. We got some vents here, some USB action. Of course we have a cup holder armrest, and then you guys can see here with the trim on the seats. And then, by the way, headroom solid. Now sitting in the back of the Forester, it really doesn't feel smaller, which is interesting. But notice like the double storage pocket situation here, some USBs. You can see the door panel design pretty similar. And then same thing with the seats. I mean, they're a little bit different, but lots of similarities here. Still have a cup holder armrest, which is always very important. And then headroom back here, also good. Well, let's pop to the front here of the Outback. So you guys can see the front door panel situation here. Nice padding, by the way, and I like this trim. It kind of glistens there in the sunlight. Notice the front two windows are actually automatic, which is very nice. And then you got like this stuff for the hatch down below. But anyways, normal Subaru steering wheel. You guys can see with adaptive cruise control, you got steering assist on top of that. You got your voice command volume controls, paddle shifters here on the back. And then look at the gauge cluster here in the center, mostly analog, but you do have that little screen there in the center, which you can see a bunch of different bits of info on the vehicle. Now in reverse, you can see the backup camera here. You have trajectory lines that turn with the steering wheel. Notice you can turn the X mode on or off. You're either off-road or on-road. But anyways, we got Subaru's new larger infotainment system. So it's got like analog climate controls on the other side. Notice it's got like the heated seat controls here at the bottom, which is pretty cool. This screen's really easy to use, frankly. And I think the overall design with it as well. And then we got our little charging area, is what we'll call it right there. Parking brake. shifter here in the center, and then some cup holder action, and then pretty interesting center console. Good storage space. Nice padding here on the top, and then look at this with the dash, and then you can see the trim down below, and then storage above. That's a big glove box. And then we do have a regular sunroof here at the top. Well, same thing in the Forester. Gotta start her up. But look at the door panel. Again, very similar. I mean, the theme's a little bit different, but like material use and everything, those automatic windows, all that. Lots of carryover. And then the steering wheel, I mean, you're pretty much identical here. Notice we got our little drive mode select there, though, on the steering wheel. No paddle shifters here on the steering wheel, though. Gauge cluster does look a little bit different, too, though. Information's very similar, but yeah, the theme's a little bit different. And then notice we got this, like, upper screen here on the Forester. So that's definitely different. But that means that we have a slightly smaller infotainment screen. Still good camera system, though. So that's great. But yeah, this is definitely not as fancy as we have over in the Outback. And you can see the radio controls down below. And then single zone climate in this one. And here's our shifter. And then notice our little drive mode select here at the bottom. That's pretty cool. And then you can see with the parking brake. And then heated seats here. So it's definitely kind of like Subaru's older style with everything here in the Forester. Good storage space with the center console. Center console is like smaller with the lid. And then yeah, look at the dash. It's pretty cool. And yeah, the glove box is pretty similar in size. Now this is way different. Like you got the super long sunroof, so it's bigger than the sunroof in the Outback. And then we got controls here for some of the safety tech at the very top of the camera will capture it. Yeah, kind of. Now when it comes to pricing, these are actually very close in price. So the Forester is $33,600 roughly, whereas the Outback is just under $35,000 for the MSRP price. And these are pretty close to each other in terms of packaging. We're gonna start off in the Forester first, and then we'll do the Outback second. And the reason I'm doing it in this order is the Outback has the more modern interior and it's a larger vehicle, so I want to see if I feel like I'm missing out by, or yeah, if I feel like I gain a bunch if I go into the Outback, if I feel like I'm missing out here with this Forester. But starting off in the Forester, really good so far. Seat comfort's good. I will say I do like the so the Outback's like all cloth. This has like a little bit of, it looks like vinyl here on the side of the seat, which I think is pretty nice. Adds to the flair. Good torque out of the engine initially. Again, that's just partial throttle. We'll see with a bigger acceleration up here in a little bit. But I mean, this thing moves. Pretty dang well. That is for sure. Ride quality is really good. That's something that's just kind of across the lineup with Subarus, is they all have really good ride quality. Pretty well insulated overall. It's just a comfortable vehicle, frankly. Yeah, and I do want to touch base on seat comfort again quickly. I think it's pretty dang solid. I think they've done a good job with the seats on both of these. Yeah, I love Subaru's ride quality. They kind of tune these for off-roading, so they give them a little bit more travel than a lot of other cars. And so the Subarus just, especially over bumpy roads, they actually ride really well. Yeah, it feels punchy, frankly. I do like flat 4 cylinders more than just regular inline 4 cylinders. It seems like they just feel punchier for some reason. I'm not sure why that is, but that's just reality with them. Okay, so let's see how this... Okay, so yeah, pretty good feel for the Forester. Let's go see how the Outback is. Okay, well, setting off in the Outback. I gotta say it like 20 times. I had to keep retaking clips in the Forester drive because I kept saying Outback in that car for some reason. It's just been a long filming day for me, I suppose. So first off, seats feel pretty similar. I think those Forester seats might have been a little bit more comfortable, but they're about the same. They're about the same. Okay, aside from the seats being about the same, you do notice the size difference. This does feel like a larger vehicle So that's definitely something to note. And I do feel like I have to get in, I feel like I have to get into the engine a little bit more, which makes sense. Like, larger vehicle, weighs a little bit more, so you're gonna have to get into it a bit more to actually, you know, get the power out of the powertrain. But aside from that, ride quality is very similar between them, honestly. Yeah, it's super close. So there's not really a big difference there. This interior does feel a little bit different though, with like the more modern infotainment system. I think this, like, I think there's a reason why Subaru went to this. It's a lot more usable, and it just frankly looks better overall. Yeah, this does drive bigger. This does drive bigger. I could see that being a key reason why people might choose the Forester over the Outback, if they just want the, you know, slightly smaller drive. Man, people are honking like crazy. Every single, I've seen, I haven't been to downtown Salt Lake in a second, but like, I've seen several like bicyclists just get honked at like crazy here in downtown Salt Lake. Like, it seems like people hate bicyclists down here. If you live down in downtown Salt Lake, let me know. Like, let me know what's going on. Is there a war going on here? But back to the Outback. I think it drives really well. It's super. There's some slight differences, but it's very similar overall in terms of the. Okay, what are you doing? The driving dynamics. Put your leg down. Like, why would? Okay, so let's get our acceleration here in the Outback. Yeah, just like I expected. It's, I mean, same engine, same power outputs, but larger vehicle. It does feel slightly slower perceivably. It's not a huge difference, but it does feel slower. But again, the cool thing about the Outback is you can pay a bit more money and you can get the turbocharged engine if you don't feel like this is enough power. So summing things up, I think my conclusion might be a little bit controversial. I think both of them are pretty solid overall. However, I'm going to pick the Outback as the winner. The reason I'm picking it as the winner is they're so close in price, but this has more space. It has a much more usable infotainment system, and it has more features, frankly, at, again, a very, very close price. And when I say more features, it's got dual zone climate and it's got more space, right? That's feature enough for me. So let me know which one you choose, Outback or Forester, but if it were my choice personally, I'd pay a little bit more and get the Outback, at least in this case.